Are the Arizona Coyotes primed to make a pretty big trade for defenseman Noah Hanifin in Calgary? We're going to discuss that on today's special crossover episode of Locked On Coyotes and Locked On Flames. Jess Belmosto of Locked On Flames joins us to talk about what's the state of the Flames right now and what their expectation is for a potential return. So what they expect the Coyotes to give up for a trade like Noah Hanifin.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you, everyone, for making Locked On Flames and Locked On Coyotes your first listen every day. We are free and available for you wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as well, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Robyn, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great, Jess. How are you?
Not as good as the Coyotes. Definitely not as good as the Coyotes. But we're going to talk basically State of the Union for both teams and a little Noah Hanifin conversation because he's been linked to Arizona. And I think that's an interesting conversation because, I mean, Arizona does have some attractive pieces that the Flames would more than likely be interested in, but tell us what is going on with the Coyotes at this current moment?
You know, I think they're just on this super hot run right now. A lot of things are just running into place. They just look like a lot more confident team out there than a team I've ever seen in the previous years. And I think a lot of that goes with just one coaching. I feel like Andre Tourigny has really upped the way he approaches getting into these games, as well as coaching these especially the young kids. It's a very young team out there, and for Bill Armstrong, GM Bill Armstrong, for putting together a lot of those extra tools over the offseason that have made massive strides and been a massive part of the team since they came in.
What were some of those pieces?
Yeah, I think some of the offseason they picked up Sean Durzi, defenseman Sean Durzi. They picked up Jason Zucker as a forward. I think he's set pretty nicely at that top six. Matt Dumba is not as big name as the other two, but he's definitely been an important part to the Coyotes defense. The entry-level contract signing for Logan Cooley. That's something we didn't expect because we thought he was going to go back to college for another year. And he just all of a sudden he flips and turns things around. It's like, you know what? I am going to be joining the Coyotes this season.
That must be so exciting because, I mean, everyone knows that Arizona has been at the bottom of the league and slowly, rebuilding and bringing themselves to be a competitive team. So for them to take steps forward like that with, obviously the veteran signings, but the addition of Logan Cooley makes it, even more attractive.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think that's been, I think that's been a pretty key bit. But I think the most amazing thing is, despite Logan Cooley being the hot ticket name of offseason additions, he's not even the hottest player on the team right now.
No. Is it Clayton Keller?
Not even Clayton Keller. It's a name that no one would have thought, except maybe, I would have kind of maybe seen a little bit of it coming because I watched this player play for the Tucson Roadrunners for the last few years when I lived in Tucson. But Michael Carcone has been the hottest. He leads the team right now in, I believe, 12 goals, and is on a 4-game goal streak, getting 5 goals in the last 4 games.
Wow. That that is more goals than anyone on the Flames has. So I do have to say that is quite impressive. And you said he was in Tucson for a few years.
Mhm.
How old is he? Is he still, I guess, in that prime window, or is this just kind of who he's going to be as a player?
Well, he's 27, so he's right in his prime,
Oh,
where he should be in his prime. So, um, I think he can only go up for maybe a couple more years from here, and then before it starts to flatline a little bit, because once you get past that 30, then things for most players, you could be one of those ageless wonders like Alex Ovechkin or Joe Pavelski, and they're just freaking tearing up, doing God knows what. But
yeah.
right now, Carcone's in his prime, and he's looking great doing it.
What does the goaltending situation look like?
It's interesting because I think a lot of people in the offseason kind of thought that Karel Vejmelka was going to be the guy to kind of hold the net for a while. But Connor Ingram has kind of surprised a lot of people and has really taken control of the between the pipes. He's and each of he started in the game against Vegas, which was the first game of their win streak, and I think that game, that shutout win, was the history after that. He has not let go of the crease since then, and he started all of the last 5 games. I don't know how many more games he's going to continue to start in a row, but he's been great. I just can't see anything else that right now. He's really taking control.
That's impressive, especially because he's kind of bounced around between the AHL, and he was with Nashville for a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and then what I can't remember if there was a spot in between Nashville and Arizona, but it's nice to see a good guy find stable ground and success, especially in an organization that has this kind of underdog not persona, but I guess um aura around it.
Yeah, it's a team that everyone just overlooks just because it's the Coyotes, the state of the Coyotes, where they play, and a lot of other things. No one pays attention to them, and I feel like that's kind of what draws some players to them, because they feel like they can make a name a lot more for themselves. They have an opportunity to bounce back, fly under a lot of other people's radar, and all of a sudden
Mhm.
these guys are looking great. Connor Ingram, again, he's one of those people picked up off of waivers from Nashville, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Just one of the waiver picks in the last couple of years, the Coyotes have actually really, have really turned around and made look great. Another one is, former Flame, Yusuf
Yeah.
Alamaki. He's also looked fantastic.
Yeah, no, I was gonna ask about that. I'm so happy for him because Daryl Sutter and his relationship was just not it was not a healthy one. And unfortunately, his time in the organization had just kind of I think prematurely came to an end. But from what I've seen, he has had a lot of growth and progress in Arizona. What is his game looking like now?
I think he's definitely cemented himself as a top 4 defenseman for the Arizona Coyotes. I think alongside, yeah, I'm trying to think who his line mate is. Like, I think it bounces around because the Coyotes defense has also been gotten pretty banged up lately. Valimaki was even out with an injury very recently as well. So, but he's definitely settled. I think like a couple times he'll sit along the top pairing, but every now and then drop down to the second pair. I don't think I've ever seen it go any below that. He's been
Wow.
great. He's his presence is out there. He's got a great both offensive and defensive mindset, and he's been definitely a light on this team.
Well, very glad that Calgary could provide some work on the back end for you. But coming up next, we are going to talk about the state of the Flames and, you know, just kind of where they're at because I don't know if they even know what they're doing and what their plan is. But before we do that, we are going to take a quick break and we'll be back right after this.
And today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. I don't know about you guys, but every now and then I just get really sick and tired of having to buy tickets and seeing the prices, all of a sudden getting surprised by surprise fees. It's like, oh, you got convenience fee, you got this fee, and when you get to the event too, definitely see it's nowhere near as what you thought they would be. Gametime is out there to fix things. They got events, they got tickets for all upcoming kinds of events in your area: concerts, sports events, comedy events, anything you can really think of. They got last minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals, easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event. Views of all seats from the venue, so you're able to see exactly where you're going to seat before you actually buy the ticket. They had the lowest price guaranteed, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, etc. You can see, once again, you can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what you're expecting when you arrive. My favorite bit is all-in pricing, so you can actually see what the cost of the ticket is completely after fees before you hit purchase. You can buy tickets in seconds with just 2 apps. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL. That's LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
And while you are at it, you can head on over to the App Store and check out FanDuel. As the weather gets colder or cooler in Arizona, the NFL offer stays hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there is no better time to get in on the action. The app is super easy to use and you can get the payout instantly. And who doesn't love quick money, right? There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to listen to Locked On Flames or Locked On Coyotes today, as Robyn and I dive into the Noah Hanifin trade rumors and why the Flames might just take any offer that Arizona might give them.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd say before we get to that, I want to ask you too about the state of the Flames too, because
Yes.
I feel like the Coyotes and the Flames are complete. You know, like they seem like they're going in different directions, and it feels like.
100%. And I mean, I feel like the Coyotes are obviously, climbing their way back to the top. And the Flames, they don't know if they want to bottom out and kind of do this rebuild and retooling situation, or if they're okay just being in this soggy middle, maybe make the playoffs and win around team.
Yeah, it definitely interests me because at first, when I was looking at the standings, I was like, oh, they're only fourth in the Pacific Division, so the Coyotes are fourth in the Central. But I look at the points, and I was like, oh wait, it's a little bit different there. Like, is it just the way the Pacific Division is this year, or is it?
Yes.
What is it?
I think the Pacific Division is it has a reputation for being the less competitive division, and I do think that is kind of true. And the Flames, they did not have a hot start to the season. They ended up losing 6 in a row, and that really set them behind. They don't have a winning record. They're still playing below 500, and it's tough because they're not able to really build any momentum. They had a 3-game point streak going, and then Nikita Zadorov requested a trade, and all that momentum kind of came to a screeching halt.
And it's interesting too, because I remember a few years ago that when I was talking about, teams to look out for, I was like, you know what, the Flames seem like a team that I would actually jump on in the Pacific Division.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they feel like And it's interesting that, like, even to add on that is I remember just a few a few playoffs ago, I was sitting at a bar with my friends, one of which who is a Edmonton Oilers fan. We were watching the Battle of Alberta, and I'm like, oh, please give me more of this, and to see the state of both teams. And I was now it's kind of sad, and that brings me to the kind of question is like, where are they going from here? Like, what kind of what's their personnel like? Because I know there's been a lot of change since that.
Yeah. So that season definitely broke the Flames. Jacob Markstrom has not been the same since. The coaching has changed, the general manager has changed. There is no high-end talent there anymore after Gaudreau and Kachuk's departure. But the Flames, like, the personnel now, it is all pretty much internal hiring. There were internal promotions after Brad Treliving left. Ryan Huska was the assistant coach under Daryl Sutter, and he worked with the Stockton Heat, now the Wranglers, and it's comfortable. I think it's a lot better than last year in terms of not knowing where you stand with the organization, your coach, or anything like that. But definitely better communicating. And the coach is Ryan Huska is willing to play the younger guys and not bench them after they make mistakes. It's learning opportunities, and that's partially why this team has been exciting when they are when they are on the ice and playing well.
Forgive me, but I'm looking at Cap Friendly for a sec. Am I reading it
Mhm.
correctly that Nazem Kadri is
Yes.
got 7 years left of a $7 million?
Yep.
What?
Listen, take that up with Brad Treliving. This was a deal that I mean, in free agency, you're going to overpay on term and money, but 7 years, um, yeah, that is a very long time. The Flames will be in a new arena by then. They're, I'm going to assume they will end up buying him out by year 5.
I can only imagine what the buyout would be at that point.
You know, that is for someone that deals with numbers to figure out and to see if it's worth it.
Awesome. Any bright spots that they've had? Like, what players have stood out?
Yes, definitely, Martin Pospisil and Connor Zary. Those 2 guys, they got the call probably about a month ago now, and they have been just absolutely crushing it. Both were about a point per game player for, I think, through the first 8 games, which was really incredible for them. And Dustin Wolf, he got recalled again yesterday after Jacob Markstrom is now week to week with a broken finger. He hasn't really had the opportunity to settle down and get truly acclimated with playing at the NHL level, but that's definitely something to be excited for. 2-time AHL goaltender of the year. You know, the Flames need as many bright spots as they can get, and Jacob Pelletier is coming back too, and more positive vibes.
One more question for you about the state of about stuff on the Flames, and it kind of goes to asking a question about a former Coyote who
Sure.
it's been a while since part of the Coyotes, but maybe some people want to pay attention to them. But how has Jordan Osterley been?
He's been good. I will say he's definitely 6th, 7th defenseman kind of player.
Yeah.
Was on waivers a few weeks ago, but he's there. He's a body, and that sounds kind of disparaging, but I mean it respectfully because the Flames need bodies out on the ice, and he's effective, he's impactful, and he does the job. He's not afraid to get down and gritty, and that's the Flames need things like that, and we appreciate him.
That certainly is good to hear. But coming up, though, we are definitely going to talk about what a trade between the Coyotes and the Flames would look like for Noah Hanifin, because we're going to get to that right after this.
Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Don't spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills when you can do that all with Indeed. Find top talent fast with Indeed's suite of powerful hiring tools like Indeed Instant Match, Assessment, and virtual interviews. Hate waiting? Indeed's US data shows over 80% of Indeed's employers find quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the moment they sponsor a job. Candidates candidates you invite to apply through Instant Match are 3 times more likely to apply to your job than candidates who see it in the search, according to US Indeed data. Join over 3 million businesses worldwide using Indeed to hire and get hire great talent fast. Indeed knows when you're growing your business, you have to match every dollar and make every dollar count. Indeed knows that Wow, I can't talk today. Indeed knows that when you're doing everything for your company, you can't afford to overspend on hiring. Visit Indeed.com/lockedon to start hiring now. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Well, let's keep going on this episode of crossover Locked On Coyotes and Locked On Flames. Once again, I'm Robyn alongside Jess Belmosto. Jess, let's get into the into the what everyone wants to hear on this one. Of the Coyotes have been at least for the last few weeks rumored to be one of the teams that's been heavily interested in Noah Hanifin.
Yeah, I don't hate the idea of extending Noah Hanifin. I want to make that clear. Because I think it's super easy for people to just kind of be like, oh well, this player, everything's bad with this player because now they're in the trade market. No, I think Noah Hanifin would be a very impactful defenseman on any team. He has his moments just like every other player where there's out of position and whatnot, but he is absolutely someone that anyone that needs back help on the back end should be looking at. He has that offensive mentality to his game as well, so it's a bonus.
It always seems like a bonus, and it's interesting, at the time when when we first heard about Noah Hanifin being interested, or the Coyotes being interested in Noah Hanifin, rather, both my co-host Matt and I were a little skeptical and be like, why change things that already works right now? It seems like the Coyotes seems to be like their defense is all cylinders running, and they're that they don't really need any additions right now. Then there all the injuries happened. They went on that short 3-game losing streak before their 5-game winning streak, and that's when even after the Vegas game, I was still I was even putting the question up there. I was like, do we revisit that? Do we revisit to talk about it? I feel like it has to be talked about, because I feel like you don't want to have to risk calling so many people up from Tucson, because that's, nothing against Michael Kesselring for Arizona. He's been phenomenal. And I feel like he's even made a point to not get sent back down. Like, he's been looking great in the 5-game winning streak. But, you just don't want to have to risk those, getting even more call-ups. So that's why I'm like, yeah, you got to bring it up.
Yeah. And I think having the stability of, a top 4 defenseman that you can kind of plug wherever you need to. And that, again, that provides some stability for the team, especially if they are really looking to lock him up for long term after as well. He's only 25, so you do have, time on your side there as well. So I think that this would be a great player for Arizona to be interested in. but what does a return look like?
Oh, return look like? That's the I mean,
That's
that's
a
the
million
question,
dollar
right?
question.
That's the $1,000,000
Yeah.
question. I mean, like, I think it really depends on first what are the Flames looking for? Because I feel like that's one of the biggest parts that
Yeah.
would need to be discussed.
I would say definitely a roster player. Not it doesn't have to be obviously NHL star or anything like that, but a guy that is ready to play in the NHL or can bounce in between the AHL and NHL. Probably a draft pick. Uh, I don't know what Craig Conroy is going to ask for, especially with how his return for Nikita Zadorov was appreciated.
Yeah, that makes sense. Those are a couple things that I was looking at too, and um, a couple things that I could probably add in and saying that, yeah, sure, probably draft picks will definitely be on the table. Whether or not like a first rounder or like whatever year first rounder is a huge question. I personally wouldn't be out of like I wouldn't be like completely upset with a first rounder being on the table, especially since like if you're getting someone like Noah Hanifin, that's huge, and especially with the
Right.
state of the Coyotes are now, like you don't need, and with the trajectory they're on right now, it definitely seems like it'd be a later first round pick anyways.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not entirely against adding that in regards to getting a player. I think that really brings up to a lot of questions because you can look at, what maybe based off what position you guys are looking at more. If you're looking at a forward, uh, there are, trying to think of who might be up there, because I know there are a lot of players that I'm not sure if I would definitely part with for someone like Hanifin. Maybe if when it comes to a trade, like a player trade, I get a change of scenery trade, someone that hasn't played entirely too well for Arizona, but like he's had good potential. This kid, the kid I'm thinking about a little bit, has good potential, and I feel like maybe he's just not working in Arizona. He was a John Chayka pick, so he was, like doesn't fit into the Bill Armstrong system. I feel like that's kind of shown. He does have better games in the NHL than he does the AHL. So maybe that's someone to talk about. And if you're wondering who I'm talking about, I'm referring to Victor Soderstrom.
Okay. I don't know much about him, but if I am all in on players like in return that just need a change of scenery because it does wonders for them
Oh yeah.
and it's beneficial and you don't have to make it awkward and be like, oh yeah, I want to trade. And plus, who wants to willingly up and leave a nice warm climate?
Oh, Arizona's. Yeah. Especially right now, at the time of this recording, I believe last I checked, it was, I can see at the bottom, it's 75 degrees right now.
Oh, it's 23 and snowing here in New York. So lucky you guys.
Yeah, there's a thing I love about it is I get to enjoy this warm weather, even for a little bit long, even if just for a little bit longer. And then this
Yeah.
weekend, just go play hockey, play some nice hockey myself. It's amazing. Get to do
Love
both.
that. Love that.
But yeah, changing scenery could kind of trade could be nice. And I think it definitely shows that it's worked many times before. I'm looking at players that it's impacted for the Coyote side. I mentioned Michael Kesselring earlier. He was acquired via a trade. Who else was I know I'm looking at the list here. Where did I see this player? I literally just had it too. But regardless, as I was trying to say, is there's actually I'll go back to last year. And
Valimaki.
Yeah, that was a waivers claim, but
A waiver, but yeah.
that was the change in scenery there helped out. Shane Gostisbehere, that was the other player I was thinking about, and he was traded away from Philadelphia essentially given away from Philadelphia, I should add. He ended up being one of the top D men for Arizona for a couple of years before getting traded for draft picks. And I think that was, he played his role perfectly. So maybe something like that can help.
Yeah, absolutely. And, thankfully there are people that get paid a lot more money
Oh, yeah.
to decide these things and get cap compliant, because I'm someone that would just swipe a credit card to make something happen. So thankfully that's not something either team has to worry about here. But I think that does it for us today, Robyn.
Yeah. One more thing I will add, and of course, I think you mentioned it a little bit
Yes.
earlier, is one of the things that will be an expectation for the Coyotes, I'm sure, is it'd be like a sign-in trade.
Yeah.
I feel like there needs to be term involved on a deal like that.
Yeah, and it can't just be oh yeah, we'll get to this, wink wink, nudge nudge sort of thing. I mean, it could be. I don't know. I don't know how Noah Hanifin and his agent work and what Bill Armstrong's willing to, kind of. There's a big difference in a verbal agreement versus
As long as we're
a
not
legally
dealing with
binding contract.
As long as we're not dealing with Alan Walsh.
Yeah, no, you're good. Don't worry about that. You do not have to worry there. Unless you want to take on Jonathan Huberdeau's contract as well. We can definitely make something work there. I'm sure he would appreciate being back in the warm weather. But yeah, I think that does it for us today. Thank you everyone for hanging out with us. Robyn, where can everyone find Locked On Coyotes and you on social media?
Yeah, you can find Locked On Coyotes, first of all, wherever you get your podcasts. On social media, we're on the @ formerly known as Twitter, now known as X, at @LO_Coyotes. I'm personally at Robyn_Leano. You could give us a follow. You'll see me mention a lot of things, a lot of updates, especially in this next month. The Coyotes are going through a massive, arena search, the perennial arena search. It feels like things are getting ready to come to not necessarily a close, but a massive leap forward. So if you want to follow what's going on there, just be sure to just give me a follow.
Yes, and you can find Locked On Flames wherever you listen to your podcasts and on YouTube as well. You can follow the show on X, or formerly known as Twitter, at LO_FlamesPod, and you can follow me at Jess Belmosto.
Awesome. So that'll be it for this episode. Just want to thank everyone once again for making this show your first listen, and hope you guys staying safe out there. Hope you guys staying healthy. And for all my Coyotes fans out there, don't forget to howl on.